Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We're up to day 4 of the NLP Coach Training and Certification series. This is a very powerful day where we start to use a process called timeline therapy. Now, timeline therapy is a trademarked process that enables you to release any mental or emotional block. Things like fear of success, fear of failure, the fear of criticism, and even those unresolved feelings of guilt. It enables you to do it in a very short amount of time, which means you can be free from all those mental and emotional blocks that hold you back. As we begin the day, we start with a process called Journey on the Timeline. Now, the Journey on the Timeline is a regression technique. And what we know through years of research is that there's many cultures that report on past lives. And our students today have learned how to use timeline therapy techniques to have a past life regression. In the moments ahead, I'll be sharing with you some videos of our clients having past life regressions, having memories of living multiple lifetimes and many thousands of years ago. This process also enables you to look out into your future. And we have clients here who believe that they were going to die at the age of 55, but now to realize that they've been able to extend their lives. More clients have gone past this lifetime in multiple other lifetimes beyond this lifetime, and some of them have returned back to the source energy. And it's a fantastic experience that I recommend that everybody do at least once in their lifetime. So in the moments ahead, you'll see a glimpse into these journeys on the timeline and what our coaches are learning to do with their clients. So go ahead, watch the videos now, and I'll speak to you in just a few moments.
Start from the past. The earliest memory was it's like Spartan type soldiers around me. It was weird. I don't know if I was amongst them or just maybe I was a soldier. I don't know. I just didn't like couldn't really make the face out, but the Spartan type helmets, those soldier helmets. Another lifetime, again wolves, which I've had a few times as a wolf. When I was about 3, it was an Easter time, another memory that came up, and I was doing that with a chocolate button. And my mum had I think it was Ben-Hur or Ten Commandments, something on TV, and I was bored. And I'm doing this, and I used to melt them and eat them. And I heard her tell me, like, what are you doing? Just eat them. Because I must have just been doing already because I was bored. But I could taste the chocolate. I could actually taste the chocolate. I used to like string like that and just eat it. It's pretty weird, like, but I do remember it vividly. I remember my old car, and the reflector fell off the door as I opened it. I was picking that up, sat down, and the actual seat slider was broken. It was a little Nissan Sunny, and I could smell the car. I could actually smell the car inside, like magic tree type smell. The further on from that, went on into the future about a month, and my heart started beating fast. I think it was due to the financial shift. So I got excited because I could see the new bank account was building. Got a sense of success. So that was like massive because whilst I've been here, I've been wondering what's going to happen next. It was quite good to feel that. Further on from that, when I literally 20 years, I think it was 20 years ahead of that, I was taking a picture of Jo, my girls, and Alice is taking the mick out of Jo, and she's doing this because she's taller than Jo, and I was just like proper, like an overwhelming sort of feeling, knowing that like everything's like going to be all right. That was like powerful, you know what I mean? The future, we was on a boat as well, me and Jo, I think either Thailand, Mauritius, I don't know, but we're old, so it's like joy, you know. The future was like robotic, you know, like in the sky, but like Terminator 2 type thing, you know. And then went further on, it was just all dust. It was just like, so it was like really out there. It was very out there, the future. But yeah, it was it was, I know I've got tears coming down, but it was a nice journey.
Okay, so my timeline was bright white light all the way through. Went back through recent past and quite a lot of anger, really big feeling of a time in a toilet block when I was a teenager, when I was being bullied. It was freezing cold, just sitting there on my own at lunch. My first memory of anger that I can remember took me back to a time in my cot, and I was talking like your son, shaking this thing for dear life, and no one coming to get me at that time. I had a memory of my birth and being in the womb, which were pretty much one of the same thing. My mum's heart just pumping. I think she had high blood pressure, something has come back to me with that, but her heart being so loud, and this feeling of like anxiety and stress at that moment. And then the light, as I went back into the past, was flashing, and I was a native Indian. I had a headpiece on, and I had a beautiful wife and a child, and we were living in nature, and it was just living off the land in peace. It was pretty phenomenal. Then I came pretty quickly straight back again through the light. I had a flash of Egypt, but not me in the picture, just some pictures of Egypt. As I came into the future, I saw myself a week's time, and that would be the week we have Ethan. And I saw us trying to have a good time, and we were, but I had this sense of guilt, massive guilt inside me. I'm really sorry. But going forward, on a more positive note, I saw me and Melissa running our business from our office that we were just in the process of setting up, and I was making us our first £20,000 month, which is incredible. I saw a glimpse of getting married to a beautiful blonde woman in the future, and being on stage and talking at an event, and weirdly enough doing an interview with a guy that I've been following called Tom Billieu at some point in my life, and having a life of success. I saw my death. It was quite simple. I was just lying in bed, and Melissa was holding my hand, and I just remember seeing her eyes, and as I was dying, and it happened as I was sitting there, just flashing, and then just boom, just into like this universal energy source and peace, and that was that.
I didn't get clear pictures this time, strange enough, but there was feelings and there was words sometimes. With regards to the past, 2008, I didn't like that because I was at not a very good place. I was kind of getting to know some dodgy people who were just looking for some quick fun. That was like about relationships and things. That was after in the first breakup stage with my then husband, and I felt a lot of sadness and pain with regards to the past. Younger years, people staring at me and making comments, and that goes back to childhood. My father talking down to talking rich people down. Sorry. We just didn't like rich people. And I can't remember my birth around about that time. And before that, I just felt a lot of pain and sadness. And with regards to past life, there's so often I get this picture, black and white picture of like a family picture in front of a house, like just at the entrance gate. You're looking at this entrance gate, and there's this man standing there. He's got this flat cap on and a moustache and grey trousers. Well, there's not obviously no colour if it's a black and white picture, but there's a family around him, and that sometimes pops up in my head as well. Further back, not very clear images, just light, but red light, aggressive light, flashing light. And then going back towards the future, I saw a diary with names in it. I saw something about travelling and still working at 70. Further to the future, I just saw more white light coming, but there was no age or anything attached to that. Also with regards to further lives, there was nothing else attached to that, just the light getting brighter, and I felt calmness, and I wasn't upset, so there was no sadness anymore. There was more like happiness and calmness, and that was pretty much it.
Okay, that was quite a journey for me. I'm going to pre-frame this by saying that when I came here, I believed I was going to die before I was 55. So let's start this journey. Going backwards in time, I went back to training room last week, went training room the month before. Back in time further to one of the houses that I renovated and lived in probably about 20 years ago. Went further back to playing rugby when I was about 13 or 14. Went back further then to being in front of my mum's house, talking to a guy about his chopper bike and how cool it was that you put your foot backwards and it stopped it. I went back to my birth and saw myself being lifted in someone's hand, and then went back further to being comfortable, warm, cosy in the womb. Past lives, not really significant. I could see myself maybe in trenches during wartime. Further than that, it was just going through different lives to, well, at one stage it was so far back I was like Barney Rubble. I was Stone Age. And then creation, a bright light, and that's when I feel my life started, at this creation point. Going forward from now, saw myself going on holidays next week. So I'm in Spain from next Saturday for a week. See myself in the future. Busy at work. I've got an order book. I've got money in the bank. I've got thousands of pounds in the bank within a few months, which I'd never seen before. Saw myself about a year from now. I know I said I wanted to lose weight, but I've never ever specified basically the belly behind the rib cage. So there I am with the belly behind the rib cage. White shirt, dark trousers. Went beyond that, 8 to 10 years. I'm standing in front of the house that I live in at the moment, which is was one of my goals and now is one of my real goals again. So I'm standing in front of that, own the house, have a Chrysler 300 in the driveway for whatever reason, but it's there in the driveway. It's saw my family, grew up. I get old and wrinkly. I figure a number had come into my head about 90 years old. I remember sort of passing sort of 65 and joking with the guys that I need to be really nice to you now because you're going to pick my old folks home. went beyond that to 90. After 90, I have no memory of this life. Saw myself going through energy. I can't say that I saw another life in front of me, but eventually ended up at the same light that I was created from, into this bright light. I honestly thought when we were going through that this light was being shone in our eyes. I'm assuming it wasn't, but that was the same light that I was seeing at my first existence as what I saw at the tail end. So that was my journey. So I'm going to get old.
Okay, so looking back from now, I seem to jump straight to 2008 for some reason, when we were living in a particular house on a farm. Then back through my early years in the army, joining the army. Then there's a theme of jumping here. Going back to when I was 16, 17, struggling with booze, playing rugby. Then I skipped from 17 back to 13, where there was a particular bullying incident. Then I went back to when I was 7. It was a particular birthday party, like a bowling birthday party. And then, I don't know what year this was, but I think it was probably a couple before then. I remember a scrapyard at the end of our road, which used to weirdly feature in dreams. Then I was at the event of my birth, and they went back further, and I saw a snapshot of, I was sort of jumping between people at this point. My father working, my grandmother in India, and then my great-grandfather, who for some reason was running. He was on a run. So then going forward, the first thing is actually arriving home tomorrow. I'm working from an office, which is an extension that's being done, that I've been waiting for a long time. And then there's a couple of sort of activities that are up and running that, you know, ultimately are relevant to building a business. So I've got an online training, the people are completing that. There are boot camps running. 10 years out to the future, I see myself in front of a theatre of 400 people. There's sort of this weird connection between training big groups of people and going into my target market, and the relative impact it's having on, like, the British Army, so they're effective. Then I see 20 years forward, a snapshot of my son, and then I didn't have anything until I was, for some reason, 93. So I've obviously got in my head that I'm going to live to 93. And there are people around me. And then jumping forward from then, and I can't really explain this, I see, or I feel like I'm walking on a huge globe, but it's like spinning under my feet, like I'm just doing laps of the world, which doesn't make any sense to me, but that's what I was doing. So it's almost like I was walking on one of those giant balls, and it was the world, and I was walking around it. And that was me out into the future.
When I asked the question before, do you believe in past lives or you don't? Which one did you answer?
I said I didn't.
In the past, I have memories of growing up on the farm, playing with the animals, riding horses, being in Disneyland. I remember that. When I started welding on pipelines, my first experiences in traveling, and of course the very recent past of being in Costa Rica and living the life that I want to be in. And in the future, The first one was to not be pipelining anymore, coaching clients, being on the beach. And then as I got older, continuing traveling. I looked old. And then I definitely found love. That's pretty much it.
So this time my timeline was white, and I went back 10 years and I kind of went into a bit of anger because I was like stuck in a rut and just in a pub life. Just all I did is go to the pub, drank, was in the wrong crowd, and I was always like the different one. They were all just doing what they wanted to do, but I wanted to get out and I couldn't. And then I went back 20 years and I was at school as a teenager. There was a lot of rejection. But then what was different this time is I went back to being a kid and I saw myself being born and my mum and dad were both happy, and I've never had that before because they always used to fight. So that was nice. And then when I went back into a past life, it was weird because I had lots of past lives, like timelines coming in at one place. It wasn't like one timeline going on forever. There was just lots of timelines coming into one point where my life started. And then when I went a bit further into one of those past lives, there were like wooden huts, and there was this big black woman with wearing like a grass dress, the grass skirts, and she was just like living off the land and like happy, and she didn't need anything around her. She just had like fruit and there was just beach and nothing. It was just peace. So that was the past. And then as I came back to the future, I saw a little boy. I don't know if it was my stepson or a new baby boy. And then in a year I saw, in a week I saw myself making lots of calls and doing what I should have been doing, like making my business work. And then a year's time I saw myself really weirdly in Taiwan where you guys were doing the master prac, and it was like, because I wanted to be there so much, I was there again. And then I went much further out to the end of my timeline now, and it was exactly the same as last time. So it was me and my hubby sat on a bench, and I couldn't see our faces. It was the back of us, and we were just sat holding hands, looking out on the beach, and it was a brown bench, not a beach, just the sea, and it was just calm, and we just joked to each other exactly the same as last time. Like, we've done it, we're here, woo, we've had a good life, we've done everything we wanted, and we just sat and chilled, and it was class. And then as I moved into different timeline, like further timelines, they would turn dark blue, like navy, like the sea, and I was on the sea, and I wasn't touching the sea, but I was just flying across the sea. Like this, I could see the sea and the waves and everything, but I was just like flying forward, and there was no land in sight, there was nothing, it was just the sea, and it was going fast, and the more I got through a timeline, it got faster and faster, and I was like enjoying it. It was like I was like going, woo, it's just amazing. I was going fast and fast, and everything was just clear. It's strange because I don't like the sea, but I just felt free, and that was it. That was it. It's cool.
So obviously when I've gone back, I've seen myself like being 14 and just like screaming into a pillow, like being scared. And then obviously when I went back to like 10 years from that, so obviously I was 4, and it's like really clear, like being 4, it's like my mum and dad at some gates, and I know where the gates are. Like I could literally drive to the gates now. I pass it all the time, and it was like a meeting point. And there's just like a lot of like pain there. And then as I've gone like further back, which is not really something that I've explored before in terms of like what was before then, like before me being here, but I could like see my mum like as a young girl like in pain. Like I could see my mum as a young girl like in pain, and I don't know where that comes from. And it's weird really, because looking like when I was doing it, I didn't really think I was recovering that much, but when I come to write it down, I was actually like reliving like quite a lot of things. And then sort of going forward, like next April, like I'm collecting 10k a month, and then like going further forward from that, like I had like 34 in my head. I could see like a little girl like running on the grass, like it was real. And then sort of going forward from there, I'm like sat in a chair like old, but I'm looking at all these books that I've like, some of them I've written, and there's like a massive bookcase of just like loads of books. And then sort of going from there, I was just energy, like I was just energy, but I was still living life through other physical beings, and that was it really. Yeah, that's it.
I saw myself going back to a time where the time I finally broke free from a 7-year abusive relationship, and I was in a car, and he had a bag in the back of the car with like metal and just stuff, and I jumped out the car while it was still moving, and so I ran into a driveway. So I re-saw that. I then went back further to a time I was introduced to somebody when I was very young. I saw my school friends. I saw my mum, and my mum criticised me and put me down as a child. I went back, I saw other things which I don't really want to talk about. Before that, I didn't really go into a past life. I kind of just saw a more spiritual connection to like the connection to all lives. Like, might sound a bit different, but I just didn't see, I've had a past life memory before, but I didn't connect to that. I just connected to all life. Going forward, I saw myself having written in the sort of near or distant future, having written 3 books, and I saw myself at a convention actually speaking, and it being a convention that I put on for people, and I saw happiness. And then later on in life, I saw myself at about just over 100, actually, 101, as a really old lady, just with my family present and my daughter. And for the first time in the whole timeline, I felt emotion and like had a tear in my eye, and just felt this kind of, I don't actually understand what the feeling was, but it was like, I don't understand that feeling, I haven't had time to process it, but it's really powerful. Beyond that point, I just saw spiritual, it's really hard to put into words, but just all life interconnected. So that's it for me. Thank you.
I went back many lives. I think I counted about 5, and I was in an igloo, and I was a mother of 3 children, living with my husband and my 3 children in an igloo. And it was a huge area. I was amazed when I sort of come to just how big it was. And my life after that, I was then in Italy, and I was a slave to a Roman emperor, one of many. And then I saw myself being born, and there was the midwife was a nun. I saw my mum sitting on my bed when I was a bit older, saying, "Don't worry, I just want to sit here for a minute because your dad wants to kill me." Then in my future, I'm going to live till I'm 95, and when I came to the end of my present life, I realised I had been successful and achieving my potential of helping others. A quick glimpse of my future life, I was travelling all over the world, and that's as much as I can remember. Thank you.
I saw a lot of pain and a lot of fear, and I went back when I was a baby, and it felt empty. And then I just saw coaches and like old gowns through the eyes of a little girl, and then I saw a man with a black hat, like really in a beard, angry at a baby wrapped up. And then I saw a light, and then in the future, I don't know, just wrapped up, and a man was just like that shouting. It was like a pointy hat, and I realised I'd had the coach memory before. I thought it was a dream, and it kept coming in my head over and over when I was a little girl, and I just thought I'd seen a picture, maybe, I don't know, but then it kind of threw me because I'd never seen that before. Yeah, that was my past.
And what did you see out there in the future?
So I saw strength, I saw my house, I saw the big kids when they were older. I was wearing I had past memory of food and my youngest memory of sweets, and then in the future I saw myself in the kitchen with a pink fluffy jumper cooking for the boys. And then further on it kind of went blank, and then I saw myself older, and I think it's in hospital and I see everyone around me, and then it gets a bit like trippy, like lots of lights and flying stuff, I don't know what that is, and then a big light again. There was two big lights, one at the beginning and one at the end. Yeah, that was it.
So thank you for joining us on the Journey on the Timeline video. Your ability to travel time into your past and into your future is part of the process of releasing mental and emotional blockages. So if you feel that there's something holding you back in your past, using timeline therapy techniques, you can learn to neutralize that negative emotion such as anger, sadness, fear, hurt, or guilt. You can also neutralize anxiety, self-limiting beliefs, and any self-sabotaging behaviors that could prevent you from getting what you want in the future. If you would like to know more about this, then I'd like to speak with you personally. Go ahead, send me a message today, and I'll speak with you in the week ahead.